I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, let me know if you're gonna come, okay? So I
Alright, I
won't
will.
leave in the middle of it. Okay? Alright. We'll get a little rain this afternoon.
Alright, good. Oh crap, I set this to 60 frames a second by accident. Let me just make sure this is still streaming good. This is extremely glitchy. Okay. What up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Hurricane Watchman is here with your latest update on the tropics. We got quite a lot we need to talk about today. We now have multiple areas, or well, one area of investigation, other areas of interest that we are watching. The one in the Gulf of Mexico is going to be the one that's going to bring the biggest impacts to the lower 48 part of the United States, because it is going to develop in this area, and oftentimes when you get a cold front and the leading edge of it moves over warm water, sometimes it can spin something up. That happens off the East Coast a lot, and they're expecting that to happen with this system. If this system over here forms first, which I think it will, this will be named Bonnie, and then I believe this might be named Colin if it develops next. Just depends on which one develops first. This one has, again, the biggest threat to this lower 48 United States, and I certainly think that it could certainly bring a lot of not only just heavy rain, but also we could also see some flooding from this, possibly, depending on how much heavy rain we get. I mean, you can really see that southern Louisiana has gotten a lot of heavy rain. Now that's just radar. I don't actually know what the that's a satellite. I don't know what the radar looks like. Let me actually just switch over to radar momentarily, just so we have a general idea of what is going on with this in this area. Then I'm going to hit live scan. Please load. But what I am going to say is there is some heavy rain, just generally just right off the coast here in this area. Pockets of some light, very light showers across southern portions of Louisiana and extreme southeast Texas in Port Arthur. Most of the heavy rain at the moment is staying off the coast right now, as you can clearly see right there. However, as this area of low pressure begins, it tries to develop and moves south in this area. It's going to try to spin up something, I think, and it could develop into something. Regardless, the biggest threats of it are going to be heavy rains and possibly some flooding. This is also possible. Again, I don't think this is going to be a wind event. Some storms that did develop, I think it was Humberto in 2007, developed from a cold front moving over the Gulf of Mexico. And also, Hurricane Alicia did the same thing back in 1983. It was a lot more robust, much stronger. I think it developed right over here and then moved. Just do this. I think it did something like this. And then just moved right and then like this. Maybe it was a little farther west or whatever, but it was something like that. It made landfall with winds of 115 miles per hour, which made it a Category 3 hurricane. Hurricane Humberto in 2007 was only like a Category 1, 75, 80 miles per hour. That's what we got right there. Very, 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 very interesting. Another something like this could happen. Now, I don't think it's going to be a hurricane. If anything, it'll be a weak tropical storm, maybe a tropical depression. So it would like be Tropical Depression 3, because I do think this system over here would develop first before this system, the Gulf, it has a higher chance of developing. that's what we got here. This system right here is about 35 miles per hour right now. Now the reason this system right here hasn't developed and isn't named Tropical Depression 2E or 2L O2L is because they don't have a closed center of circulation. If they can get a closed low and they can get winds moving around the center of circulation in all four quadrants, the northeast, the northwest, the southeast, and the southwest quadrants, then it will be classified as a tropical depression. It just needs to become a little bit more organized, and then it will gain that tropical storm or tropical depression classification there. So this is what we got here on satellite imagery. I'm going to just put this into motion, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we got here. So as you can see, it's still a large area of a cluster of thunderstorms in this area. As you can see there. Nothing close. There's not a tight closed low. There's also a tropical wave moving through the Caribbean here. You can see it is falling apart. There are strong upper level winds cutting across it like this. You can see that right here. I do think that's going to weaken. It's some of those. The wind shear is starting to weaken a little bit, and I do think this is going to continue to weaken fall apart the wind shear. Right here, we do have a tropical wave right in this area. It is going to. It has the better possibility of developing in this area right here as it moves in this direction. So we're going to be closely monitoring the development of that. We're also looking at tropical models of it for any kind of tropical. Let me go out of the screen. It's not letting me. Oh, I was doing Control F, not Control T. I was doing Control T, not Control F. I'm going to go to tropical tidbits here. And I do want to take a look at what we have here with the models, because some of the models, are a little more aggressive than others, to say the least. Just going to kind of go over what we got here. We have Tropical Storm Celia, still trying to hang on as a tropical system. There it is. It is falling apart in those colder waters at about 40 knots, which is at about 45 miles per hour. It is obviously continuing to fall apart. No impacts to land at all. It is just falling apart because of cold water. Invest 94L, again 30 knots, that's about 35 miles per hour. Now with the models here, let me just zoom in a little bit. You can see that most of the models do say it's going to continue to intensify. Some of the models, for whatever reason, say it's going to weaken. I simply don't think that's the case. There's nothing really there to support it. I think it's going to gradually continue to weaken, or strengthen, I should say. But it's got to get a closed center circulation. It's got to get more of a closed center circulation. It's got to be more well developed. I do think it's going to become a tropical storm. Surprisingly, quite a lot of models saying a hurricane, and even a few, I would say they're more of outliers at this point, saying a major hurricane. Major hurricane in June going into early July in the Caribbean. Just not a very reasonable prediction, I don't think, at all. Nothing really there to support it becoming a major hurricane. It just really doesn't make any sense. So I do want to show y'all as this does move into the Caribbean. You can see it right there. Still very, very weak. 1,009 millibars, not very well developed. Now this is the GFS. It doesn't really intensify until right before landfall there near Nicaragua and Honduras. That's where it really intensifies, and we may even see as low as 992 millibars, which is a pretty moderately strong tropical storm. It really gets developed there, and then as you can see, it just sort of falls apart. And that's it for that. I don't know, and the tropical wave behind it, you can see it really doesn't really develop into too much, but certainly something to watch out for the northern Leeward Islands, as you can clearly see right there, as it moves right over the northern Lesser Antilles and Leeward Islands. It's pretty close to Puerto Rico there, it just really goes right over the mountains of the island of Hispaniola, and it just completely just falls apart and gets absorbed by that elongated trough known as the cold front, frontal boundary right there. So with what we got there, I do think the biggest threats with this is really going to just be heavy rain. It says it can be a wind event. We're not looking at Irma. We're not looking at Maria. We're not looking at a hurricane here. It says at the middle of September. So I don't think this is going to be a wind event at all. If anything, this is going to be more of a rain event for sure. With this system that we are looking at, the southwest or the northwest Gulf of Mexico, you can see tries to close it off, but it's just not closed off at all. If anything, it's just going to be a big rain event. I think that might be the most of what we see with this. Curious what the GF or the ECMWF is going to show. Again, you can see it does try to develop into something. It like moves north, more heavier rain. I do want to look at the 850 millibar vorticity. So again, there is vorticity. You can't see, you quite in fact can see that there are quite clearly the barbs are, I don't know, I'm going in this direction, that's clockwise, counterclockwise. You can't see the barbs are rotating in all directions around. It actually looks like it, almost intensifies there right before right there at landfall. But just west of us, that would be near Matagorda Bay area, right in that area. So certainly something we're gonna keep an eye out on if this does try to develop. I do want to go and take a look at the vorticity signatures. Very important right now. This just basically shows us what is the system really looking like. What are we having? What does the storm look like? What are we dealing with right now? What does the core of the system look like? The I guess you could say the bones of the system. So that's what we're going to look at right now. As you can see, you can see a little bit of vorticity right here in the northern Gulf of Mexico, south of New Orleans. So there is something trying to spin up here. For a well-developed system, you want something to look like this. Very, very, very round. High up on the scale. Over 200 with whatever. I'm still trying to figure out what this scale actually is, but higher up on the scale it is, the better. The tighter the vorticity, tighter the signature is, the better. You can indeed see AMS 94L and there's a tropical wave behind it, and what looks like even another tropical wave behind it. So certainly more tropical waves moving in that general direction. And I do think, again, the biggest threats with these tropical waves are going to be heavy rain and flooding without a doubt. Dry air simply does not seem to be a big factor and a big problem here with the Gulf system. There's a little tiny bit, but I mean that's all the way on the low end of the scale. This has created a moisture bubble around it. It's still an area of elongated low pressure. It needs to tighten up a lot more than what it is doing right now. But with that system in the northern Gulf, there's not a lot of dry air. There's not a lot of shear. And by the way, just to say this, the water temperatures are not a problem at all. If anything, we're 4 to 5 degrees above average. That may not seem like a lot, but it is a huge. It is a lot. All right, I'm gonna actually go to the western Atlantic here and just show y'all. Just take a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies. It is slightly a little bit cooler than average there along the northern Yucatan Peninsula. That's really because you have this high pressure and it's going clockwise, and so it's kind of pushing warm water away from the Yucatan Peninsula and upwelling colder water. That's sort of the same thing that's happening with off the coast of South America. You got that water being pushed away by the trade winds, and then you have cooler water being upwelled, and so you have cooler waters than average. But with the northern Gulf, we are 3, 4, 5, about or so degrees above average. We're like off the scale. It is just so incredibly hot. take a look at actual sea surface temperatures, it is incredible. 30, 31, 31 and a half degrees centigrade, 88, 89 degrees. I do think that this area right here, right up there, middle of August, we're seeing 30, 31 degrees centigrade temperatures, 88, 89 degree Fahrenheit waters. In August, you have temperatures like this. You have perfect conditions. You have no wind shear, no dry air, and you get a hurricane barreling right in that area. And unfortunately, it's just going to explode in energy. Now, what's going to be important is how deep does this go? In other words, what is the tropical cyclone heat potential, this TCHP? How much energy is there in the ocean? Well, let's go find it. Every time I click on this, it never works, and I don't know why. What is happening? June 26, 2022. So this just shows you the energy in the ocean. I mean, there isn't a whole lot, but it is starting to get better, especially the eastern Gulf of Mexico and even the northern Caribbean. We're seeing at least 120 kilojoules per square centimeter. And this one bullseye right here, that is really worrying right there. That's 130, 140,000 joules of energy for every square centimeter of water. That is a huge amount of energy spread over a large, that's a huge amount of energy in just a teeny tiny area. Which means that's just 300,000 joules in 2 square centimeters. And so it's pretty incredible how much energy there is in just a square centimeter of this part of the Gulf of Mexico. It's incredible. And so you get something happening and developing over this area, and it moves right over these hot waters. It's gonna get ugly quick, unfortunately. I do want to take a look at just. Oh, I have to go over here. Now I can go back to there. The Caribbean. Alright, we take a look at the Caribbean. You could really see that heat energy in that high TCHP over most of the north and western Caribbean. So again, anything coming through here, and then let's just say something like this. It moves right over that TCHP high heat energy. Now the depth. What's the depth? Okay, the depth, as you can see, these oranges, up to 150, 175 meters. That's more than 300 meters below sea level, or below the surface of the ocean. 300 meters, it take 300 meters, 150 meters, 300 meters, 150 meters. Let's just see how many feet that is. 150. That's at around 492 feet. That would be roughly, they would round it up to 500 feet below the surface of the ocean, to where 80-degree temperatures go. So you get upwelling, you're not going to be upwelling anything but warm water when you're having this. And even here, it's looking more like 175, close to 200 meters below the surface of the ocean, which is just pretty incredible. I do want to take a look at other storms that we're looking here. I'm going to go forecast models one more time. All the models. And then I also want to look at the West Pacific also, because West Pacific looks to be starting to wake up. We do have some systems there in the Western Pacific developing. So I do want to go to the Canadian model. Not that it's accurate, but just a model to look at. You can certainly see something developing. Also, the Canadian model is showing some system developing there. Canadian model isn't showing much of anything developing there off the coast of Texas at all. The Canadian model actually just shows us going right into Nicaragua, going right over, and then just redeveloping in the East Pacific as another system. I'm very, very curious about what the West Pacific is looking like, because those water temperatures are hot, very hot. Yeah, we got some systems certainly possibly going to start developing there in the West Pacific. I'm just going to go with the European model and show y'all what we got here. Yeah, we got quite a lot of stuff starting to develop. Really long-range models, you don't use long-range models to see where a server's going to go. You use long-range models to have an idea, you know, just atmospherically wise, what you're going to be looking at in the future. But as you can see, the GFS certainly shows a pretty powerful system actually making landfall there in south. Not super powerful, obviously, but for June, 974 millibars. Category 2, possibly a Category 3 hurricane. And then a system way out here in the middle of the West Pacific. Very, very powerful out to sea system, 944 millibars. Now that's really far out. So maybe it becomes, I can't be an idea. Maybe the atmosphere is going to become more is going to be more suitable for any kind of developing systems here in the future. So we're going to have to go back to WSV3 and look at the NAM model, if that's even an option. Last time I looked at that, it wasn't actually there. Oh, it is there. The NAM's the camp. I think I was thinking of the CMC is what I was thinking of last time. Alright, I want to turn off the radar. The satellite. And then I want to take a look and see what we got going on in this portion of here. So we're going to go here. And then we're just going to go in the future really 120. Can't even really go 120 hours. So it isn't actually now, just go 60 hours out. Oh, that's not what I meant. So this is high resolution radar here in the future. Let me just hit load loop, and we're going to take a look and see how this system develops, what we look at, and then I'm going to kind of explain kind of an idea of kind of just what to expect in the future here. So it does appear that lots of heavy rain is going to be developing from this, as you can see. We're only 24 hours out. We're only like halfway there. Yeah, it's getting there. Stupid fucking thing. So I actually emailed them about this, and they said they want me to copy everything, but it won't actually let me copy anything. So that's that. It's whatever. Really, actually see it looks starting to develop here pretty well according to the NAM. I did some pretty good rotation, it looks like. $52, $55. You can actually see some really good rotation down here, according to what I'm seeing here. I just need one more. Oh, this is 68% done. So you can kind of see a center of circulation. No, I just away. So you can certainly see a center of circulation trying to develop there. From what we're seeing right now, it has a lot of work to do. In terms of when it's really gonna start developing in this area. And I think really, maybe right here, this is June 28th. This is literally tomorrow. This is June 30th. I think here, even in the next few days, it's really gonna start developing a lot cool. I think it's gonna ramp up, and the possibilities are gonna go up generally pretty quickly. This one I'm not worried about wind. This one I'm not particularly worried about wind either. But I only want to go. I only want to go in 5 days of the future. I'm not going to go anything past that because it's just anything past 120 hours is not reliable at all. At all. I hate that this thing takes so long to load. 100 hours only out. Again, wind speed's not a big problem. For these systems particularly, wind speed's not going to be a problem. At all. Really, I don't even need to look at wind speed because that's not going to be a problem at all whatsoever. Oh, wonderful. Half the year's not good. Oh, okay, there we go. Damn, I can't even see where pretty much any other country's at. The heck? There's a special marine warning. I forget, I honestly sometimes forget Guam in this area is part of the United States sometimes. That the United States has territories in the West Pacific. Something I don't always think about. Can't see a subsystem trying to develop here. Towards Japan, the Japanese islands, and then as you can see there in China. But as you can see, there do appear to be two systems there. One making landfall there in southern China, and the other one making its way towards Beijing, China. Now again, this is 120 hours out, so this is quite some ways away for sure until we get anywhere. But mainly, what I'm really worried about, flooding. I want to take a look at the rain rate and the flooding here, and how much rain we could actually see from this. Let's take a look at the precipitable water. But what really and truly is going to matter with these systems is the flooding. Because you got these mountains, these islands. This is a volcanic island chain. Alright, this is a volcanic island chain here in the western, here in the, I guess I could say western Atlantic a little bit, here in the Caribbean Sea. But regardless, right now, given that they are islands, they are mountains. They are mountainous, and therefore you're gonna have lots of flooding with it because we have mountains. They're over 5,000 feet. They're gonna poke into the 5,000 millibar level of the atmosphere, or the 850 millibar level of the atmosphere, and it's gonna squeeze a lot of this moisture out of these storms. And unfortunately, a lot of those islands do get lots of flooding. But I want y'all to notice, as this storm makes its way to the Caribbean, notice when it gets towards Nicaragua how it starts rolling. That's really what shows that a storm really is getting its act together. It is starting to really just develop a lot quicker. One last thing I want to look at is this system down here. So if anything, it's definitely a plume of moisture. I don't know why it's like going in and out like that, and I don't like how that looks. So I'm gonna turn it off. But with what we have right now, I'm gonna go back to just regular old satellite. But with what we have right now, we're going to closely be monitoring these systems. We're going to be doing more tropical weather updates throughout the day on these systems. Also looking at the West Pacific and what we have with that system making its way through the West Pacific, and mainly I'm worried about are these systems in the North Atlantic because they're going to be impacting land first, I think. I think I'm going to bring this stream to an end just so I can mainly get something to eat and refresh my mind, but we will continue to also do another update later this afternoon when the next update from the National Hurricane Center comes out. And we'll continue to be talking about these systems. Dry air not going to be an impact to really prevent the development of any of these systems. Same with dry air, maybe a little bit of dry air, but wind shear, wind dry air, I think these systems are going to take time. Also, they're so far south. Systems this far south don't usually develop, and this early in the hurricane season, systems just simply are just not ready and just usually not prepared to just develop out here. But we have them. But yeah, this is gonna close this off here. This has been your morning tropical weather update. We will do another one later this afternoon when we get the next update from the National Hurricane Center. We will continue to watch and monitor these systems and what they could possibly bring here in the next several days, especially the one there that could be impacting South Texas, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, and that part of the Rio Grande Valley. This has been your tropical weather update. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, and I will talk to everyone later this afternoon. Peace out.